All right, John Carmel keeping up to date with that pit stop, pit report as the rain sweeps across the circuit. And BL, I thought you almost going to give Denny Holm the kiss of the commentator's kiss of death then, because you said he's doing a great job, and then the bear just barely missed the Armco down there at the hairpin. It's a calculated risk, Denny would say. It's going to be very interesting. I think we're going to see a few changes now. It sort of brings out the who's who of the drivers. It's a whole new different ball game. The cars will be being altered by the brake balances and the bar adjustments that they have inside some of the more sophisticated cars. It brings out who's good in the wet. Cross is particularly good in the wet. I think you'll see even a better performance from Pirro and Winkelhock, who are superb anyway. Watch Tony Longhurst. There's Godzilla in behind it. This will probably give this car a little bit of a better run than what it's having at the moment. They're sitting in 9th position at this point, just with the diff on it. Longhurst is about 1 minute and 4 seconds behind in 2nd position. But of course, as he said when we spoke to him earlier on today, he said this is a race that can be won or lost in the pits. And how's that, Longhurst waving Richards through? Yeah, well, he knows it's not really a contest. Richards is, you know, several laps behind now. Longhurst is a contender for the lead. He's only 1 minute 30 behind at this point, and that's nothing. As soon as the rain covers the track, it all goes to a new set of rules. We know Tony Longhurst has had a great drive here in the rain many years ago with Trevor Crowe. Remember that race, the BMW? So we know he's great in the wet. What about Alan Jones, AJ? Well, Alan's probably a little bit off the pace. When I say that, I don't say that in a disrespectful manner. Tony is so fit, he puts everything into it the whole time. Alan just a little bit back off that pace, but he can do it. It's just he probably can't keep doing it. So going across the start-finish line, the Nissan GTR with Jimmy Richards at the wheel, trying to make up some states. And also, here's the Armour All protected replay with John Billington at the wheel, and once again at the end of Cable Street. This is the 3rd car this time which has overshot the corner. Too fast. That's that braking problem while the cars are in midair. Naturally, the cars won't stop if the wheels are in midair. They can't grip onto the ground, and that usually just robs them of that stopping distance. So it's the Billington Bob Jones Holden Commodore. Had the little wee ding with the Toyota Corolla and the Porsche yesterday in practice. Trying to keep out of the way with Kane Scott, Brett Riley, Ford Sierra. Brian, you picked up on something. These conditions bring out the real sharp operators, the guys who can get the most out of slick tires on a sort of wet, dry surface. Most people see the rain, they immediately put their brain in reverse and put the parachute out the back, you know, give away 10 seconds a lap. The good guys, now there's, I think it's either Kane Scott or Brett Riley in the Peanut Slab car. They're the ones that will capitalize as much as possible on the damp track with slicks. Slick tires being the ones without the tread. Because what they've also got to decide is how long the rain's going to be here for, how long it takes them to change from wets to dry or dries to wets, in the event of perhaps it drying up very quickly and them having to come back in again. So it's a long way down the pit road. They lose a lot of time actually getting off the circuit proper, down to their pits, and then the drag back on the outside, out onto the circuit once again. The wipers are on, but it's still, the surface is not anywhere near damp enough. There's the difference between the two tyres. On the left of your screen, you've got your slick tyre with the little holes in it. That's not a problem. That's actually to gauge how much is left in it. On your right-hand side, you've got a specially hand-cut, or in some cases, a moulded wet weather tyre there. You see the profile there, very, very low. This is why the cars are bouncing around so much. There's no give in the sidewall of the tyres. Looks like they're just about getting set for a pit stop. Brian, this is a real problem time for Charlie Lamb. You see the lap board there is indicating the times. He's back on race pace for slick tyres. So that means when the scheduled tyre stop, wheel stop, fuel stop is in a few laps' time, he's got a real decision on which tyres to go on to. Does he go with the rains? The rain's back again. He's really at evens and odds on the whole thing. A decision made badly now could make all the advantage he has evaporate just on a... Well, he has to make some sort of a decision, and looking at the sky, he's got a minute up his sleeve, but as you say, if he makes the wrong decision, that minute will be whistled out from under his nose so fast it won't be funny. Okay, the car is now coming around the end of Cable Street. John Carmel standing by in the pits with Joachim Winkelhock. Joachim, wet tyres or dry tyres?
I think we put on dry tyres.
What about it? It's spitting now, it's starting to rain. Do you know what you can do? What would you do?
Okay, for now, for sure, dry tires, and then, okay, we must wait. If the weather will be there and not more rain, I think it's enough or good enough for dry tires.
Okay. Does this make the circuit harder to drive on when you don't know?
Not hard, or if it's rain, it's more safety for the car. I hope so. Okay. It's not so easy to finish the race because Emmanuel is so far in front now. For me, it's not so easy.
Not so easy for you. What? The pressure is on you, you think?
Yeah, sure. Okay, it's not so much pressure, but I have to bring the car to finish the race. This is my problem.
All right, Joachim, we'll let you concentrate on that. And good luck out there.
Thank you.
Well, Emmanuel Piro is actually still out there, still circulating, so we'll keep an eye on the pit situation to see when they're going to make that change. Perhaps Charlie's just waiting to see if the rain's going to clear.
Well, the rules are, I mean, what should we say, the moral rules of a racer is you don't use rain tyres until the circuit is soaking. It's not exactly whether the track is wet, because sometimes the slick tyres will still run good. They're so good today. The good Yokohamas, the good Bridgestones will still grip hard in a wet track. It's when it's got to be drained, and that's why they use the treaded wet tyres to break through the flooded track.
Well, it looks like at this stage the rain is sweeping towards Eastbourne and towards the entrance to the Wellington harbour, and may have just missed the actual waterfront, and looks like that rain shower may be clearing at this stage, so it looks like it may be a bit of a easier decision for Charlie Lamb and the rest of the team managers as well, because remember, it's not just one car that has to make the choice, it's the whole field of 42 for this year's Nissan Mobil 500.
Here's the big pit stop, the one that matters. Car number 1, Manuel Piro in pit road.
Aiming for 25 seconds. Let's see just how quick they are with Murray Taylor.
And the car has just come to a stop. The Winkelhock is in the seat already. Piro helping him get into the car. The air guns are going, the wheels are going on. 100 litres of fuel, gravity fed into the back of the tank. A lot of activity, but it seems all well controlled and organised. A few batters and bangs on the car. It's obviously been in the wars, but Winkelhock's away. That was a good clean stop as he slides out and he is on slicks.
27.8 for the 3-Sport Castrol BMW M3. Joachim Winkelhock. Can he take the number 1 to victory?
Well, Brocky used to make a statement, you don't win races sitting in the pits. It seemed to me there, Joachim Winkelhock didn't want to spend too long sitting there. Let's see if we can get a look with Manuel Piro after his battlers 2 hours round Wellington street race.
Hot, sweaty conditions for the man with the cool suit. He's had a cool day and a cool drive.
Well, this is it. He's given his all. He's got to replace something like about 10, 12 pounds of weight can be shed in a race like this, and he's got to replace it very quickly before he goes, you know, lightheaded.
Just try and pick up Murray Taylor.
We want to make it a little bit conservative.
At this stage, the media
Brian
and the
Kelly
press
seems
swarming
to-
all over him like flies there. That's Brian Kelly from Radio New Zealand Sport getting on the act. Of course.
Sky, it's already quite slippery.
So
He looks like a politician.
Yes, because if you put the reins, it has to rain very hard, and if it slows down the rain, then you have to go back again to change the tire. So normally, in this situation, you try to keep these leaks as long as possible.
Any problems at all with the car?
Now, just a small accident with slow cars, but very small.
What sort of accidents? Just little nudges getting in the way?
Sometimes you think they've seen you and then they haven't, so you dive inside and they shut the door.
Is the traffic a bit of a hassle out there?
Well, it is, but I mean, these people, they do their own race. And I think they try to do their best, apart from 1 or 2 cars which have been quite bad. I can say the average of the people are very, very good. But when you drive a slow car, you enter a race like this, which is very important for you. I mean, you can't drive all the race on the outside to leave the professional drivers.
So the way it's going, you're on target for your 4th win?
Please wait.
Manuel, you've won. I guess we could say that you have personally won 3 races. You've already won half a race here. It's over to Joachim now.
Yes, now we have quite a good lead, and The car works quite good. There are 2 or 3 things which worries me a little bit, but it's quite good. So basically, he has to try to keep up the traffic and keep a slow pace like I've done in the first stint.
When Mark's gate came out of the pits, it must have given you quite a scare.
Why?
When Mark came out in the Nissan, you had a nudge.
Yes, I think he didn't see me because we hit. And, well, probably he hasn't seen me because there was no reason to shut the door.
So now it's the waiting game for you, standing nervously in the pits, watching as Winkelhock finishes the race.
I'm used to it.
Okay, well, thank you, Emanuele.
Talk to you later.
Murray Taylor with the #1 driver at this stage, Emanuele Pirro, with our pit stop pit report. Just updating the situation for you with the Nissan GTR as Emanuele Pirro looks on. Jakob Winkelhock at the wheel of the BMW. At this stage, Richards is 6 laps down and running in 7th place. Jim Richards behind the wheel of the supercar. They've had a terrible day so far. And now it's a real dogfight to see if Richards can actually catch up through the field. And the only thing that would basically mean that the BMW would stop them from taking would be mechanical trouble.
If any of you have just joined us, the reason why Godzilla is not really in the hunt, it's certainly got the speed, but at the moment it appears that from what Fred Gibson, team manager, has said, the front differential is broken. It is only driving through the rear wheels, and it makes it a pretty amazing effort the way the car is going, considering it's only driving through 2 of its normal 4-wheel drive. This makes it harder on tyres. In fact, Winkelhock has now got up to speed through coming in, obviously, full load of gas, new tyres. He's rejoined, and he seemed to give in very easily to Jim Richards. Now the tyres have come in, now he's up to speed, now he's confident he's going to make a race of it and get his mental attitude and driving abilities attuned to going flat out.
And of course, even though they had a very quick pit stop with 27 seconds with that driver change, it now means that it's car 25, the Tony Longhurst, Alan Jones BMW M3, which has now just taken over the lead. They're both on the same lane. Now there's been a big spill down here on the front straight, and it's the Tony Longhurst Alan Jones car which has been smashed. This is another going to be a serious incident.
Well, this race will be stopped. I will swear to you, they will not leave this. The decisions made right now are crucial to any further problem.
It's Alan Jones in the car, sitting, waiting.
That's John Sachs, Graham Coombs' car. Exactly same position as where Andy Rouse parked the Ford Sierra many years ago, but unfortunately, well, we'll update with as much information as we can get. Obviously, the main concern at this moment is the driver safety, the driver condition.
Let's go down to John Carver. What's the latest update, Cards?
Okay, 2 cars down here. We've got car 56, John Sachs, and John getting out of the car very, very gingerly, and he's not looking too well at all. The other car, which is causing concern, is Tony Longhurst in the BMW number 25, and there's bits of it spread all the way up the track. This is disastrous. I can see blood coming out of the corner of Tony's eye, and with him, I tell you what, this is real sportsmanship. Dick Johnson was the first person across the wall. Dick Johnson, one of his main opposition drivers, was the first man across the wall to attend to Tony, to help him get the helmet off. He's talking, he seems to be coherent. I am not going to, for the sake of decency, to go and put my microphone up to Tony Longhurst, but I tell you what, if I get a chance, I'm going to talk to Dick Johnson about it, because he was the first on the scene. Now, Tony is talking to him, he is moving around, he has come to, but I tell you what, he gave us a heck of a fright, because he was sitting there for a long, long time and not looking too well at all. Okay, I'm going to take a punt. I'm going to try and get across the track. By crike, I'm going to get into trouble for this, but I'm going on the track. And we're going to try and talk to Dick Johnson. They're trying to get him out of the car now. He's having to go out the other side. Dick Johnson. Dick, you were first on the scene. I don't want to talk to Tony. How is he, mate?
I think he's fairly shocked, but you know, he hit his head on the wall. If you have a look at his helmet, he's hit the wall pretty hard and he hit his head, but I think he's all right. He said he's okay, but I think he just needs to sit down and just have a good look at him and make sure he's okay.
Have you ever seen one like this? I noticed you were the first across the wall, mate. It must have concerned you.
Well, you know, it's just, you never know what's going to happen, whether they're going to catch fire or what.
Okay, we'll have a quick... No, Tony's going away. We're not going to even bother, but I'll tell you what, we'll have a quick word to John Sachs, the other driver who was involved in the crash. Johnny, you're not looking too well on it, mate. What's your version of what happened?
Tony came through, just gave me a clip,
just on there right through the chicane. Not the place to try and overtake. He had to go. Let me no room at all. Flipped the front of the car. He went into the wall here and couldn't avoid him. We had to spin him into the wall here.
Mate, how are you?
Oh, foot's not too healthy. In fact, both feet are not too healthy. But no, other than that, fine. No problem.
When you say your feet are not too healthy, can you move them?
Taking a fair smack through the floorboards.
All right, okay. We'll let you get some medico to you. People are looking at him. The medicos are in here. I tell you what, he doesn't want to get down. And the debris is now being swept away. I hope you can see this in your pictures. With number 25, the B&H, the ex-Schnitzer car, David Oxton, you can talk about this. It is totaled in the middle of the track.
Let's take a look, first of all, at the Armour All Protect and replay to see exactly what happened with that incident on the main straight as we were crossing the Longhurst. Now they're coming down through the field. You can see Longhurst flashing the lights at John Sachs as they come through to the entrance onto the main straight. Very tight there, just clips the wall, bounces off the other wall, then careers across the straight into the other wall in Wellington. So he took out 3 walls and the John Sachs car. A dramatic smash there with Tony Longhurst at the wheel of the car that had just taken the lead in the race. And he just clipped one of the Armcos.
Great work, TV3. That action just picked up everything. You cannot blame the slower car in this situation. Tony Longhurst made a calculated judgment. It was only about 3 or 4 centimetres out, but it was enough to crease the inside wall, put the car offline, launch it at the inside wheel. There it is on camera, and there's that wall out of control, 120, 150 Ks.
Oh, and
right
you can see there the reaction where Tony Longhurst's head hit the window and bounced back, the whiplash effect that Dick Johnson was talking about.
Well, the good thing is we know that he's up and about, he's walking around. That's the good thing about it. The car is obviously wheelless. It's going to take a fair bit of moving out of the way. That was last year's winning car. Look at the action in the foreground here. That's
all right. Let's go down to John Carver with Tony Longhurst.
Tony, I'm sorry about this, mate. I don't like to talk to you in these sort of circumstances. How are you, first of all?
I'm all right. I've just hurt my neck and got a couple of cuts or something like that.
Mate, tell us, what do you remember of the incident?
I remember the whole lot. You know, Sachs, or the red BMW moved over. I thought I was going through. Thought I got through cleanly, and obviously he's misjudged and touched my back wheel, which has put me right across into the wall and stopped their whole race.
Mate, what goes through your mind while this thing is happening, while the big loser's on?
Well, you know, you're probably doing close to 200 kilometres an hour, just hoping that you're not going to get hurt. That's the worst accident I've had.
Mate, there it is on the cam. Let's have a look at it on the TV set we've got in front of us. Just, if you can, just tell us what was happening.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, we're ridden off the car, so...
Well, hold on. We're going to replay it again for you, Tony. If you can just come over here, we can have a look at it on the screen. Tell us about it.
Well, there's not much to tell. You know, we're coming down. I flashed my lights so the slower car could see me. I turned in, I thought, quite cleanly. I had enough room. But as I've gone past him, where is it?
Coming up.
Okay, as I've gone past there, you know, you should have seen my door, but he's come across and touched the back of my guard, which has put me across into the other side. And that was it, you know, you lost control of the car then. Oh well, at least I'm all right, so that's the main thing, but you know, we just totaled a $200,000 car.
You've still got little bits of it on your face too, I might tell you.
Yeah, well, I think I should go to the ambulance bay and get that fixed up now.
All right, Tony, look, I'm sorry to talk to you in such circumstances. You're running well.
Thank you.
Dramatic day here on the Wellington waterfront. The Armour All Protect and replay showing the action there with car 25, Tony Longhurst at the wheel of the BMW M3, which is now totaled, as you heard from Tony Longhurst, and the race at this stage is under the yellow flag. When we come back, we'll update the situation.
ready for a go. We have a restart.
Racing again in the Nissan Mobil 500. This is the second restart of the race, and it's a Manuel Pirro with Joachim Winkelhock. Winkelhock at the wheel of the BMW M3 down through to Castrol, and it's the Radicic Johnson Ford Sierra with Paul Radicic at the wheel right behind him now. Winkelhock out in front. The next car to watch out for will be Larry Perkins. They're actually going at race pace.
Well, yes, but remember that the rain's back with us. Part of this whole scene of Wellington, it's really turned murky here. The rain's blowing in from both sides, and well, Pirro, you can just look at the wiper blades. The pictures tell the story. He's hard on the flat-out speed, so he's getting a lot of rain. Radicic in the second position, as you see it on your screen, is not in contention. He's some 17, or he's 20th on the road. He's had so much time in the pits having mechanical repairs to the differential. So Peter Brock is in second place. In this case, Perkins is at the wheel. Here's Larry hard at work with his very patriotic helmet. Everyone says, why do you wear a helmet which doesn't match your gear? He says, that's me, I'm Australian.
Well, no doubt he'll be hoping for the sunshine, because the rain is starting to fall as we look back on the second hour update of the Nissan Mobil 500. It's been a day of drama here on the waterfront.
And it's not over yet.
Pirro on the road, number 1, and car number 1 leading the great race. Peter Brock and the Holden Commodore currently second, and Tony Longhurst really trying to catch up in car 25, currently lying in third place. And here he is at the end of Cable Street, and that's the second time we've seen a Sierra do that.
The cars are jumping and ducking and diving. The wheels are off the ground as much as they're on it.
There's Vic Ferguson losing it, going straight into the Armco at the end of the hairpin.
Brett Gibson, 1.5 hours into the race. You've now sorted out what the problem is. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, Murray, we've broken the front diff. Cable Street's taken this toll on the car, and the bumps have broken the front differential, probably stripped the crown wheel. So, like, as you see on the TV, it's jumping all over the track down there, and it's stripped all the teeth off. See, the car weighed, we did an exercise this morning, the car weighed 1,576 kilo with Mark in the car at the start of the race. So it's a big, heavy car, and sort of done, so it's only rear-wheel drive at present.
Well, Peter Brock is getting out of the car. Now Larry Perkins is getting in the car. They're helping each other to strap in. Perkins going in, getting the straps on. The tyres are on. Mechanics getting their hands up. The nuts are being tightened on the back wheels. That's the last part of the formula to be done. And we'll talk to Peter. There goes Larry Perkins. He's flying out of the pits. Cable Street. We're watching the car actually lift off the ground in Cable Street. Is it going to hurt the car, or is it going to hurt you?
Yeah, I think it hurts the car if you keep your foot on it. If it keeps accelerating, if the diff is getting that sort of feedback from the ground as it lands and takes off. But, you know, all he can do is try and pick the right-hand side of the road and not fire into it. But after all these holes, it's a pretty strong, reliable cars. We presume it'll take it.
And there's more drama in the pits, because we've just seen that the Nissan GTR is back into the pits. Let's go down to Murray Taylor. What's happening, mate?
Well, Flint, I've just spoken with Brett Gibson. Apparently they've come in to change the tyres because they're only running the rear diff. It's running through the rear tyres, so they've had to come in to change tyres because the pressure is now really on this car. It's running as a rear-wheel drive car, and they've chewed out the tyres, so it's a fairly quick stop.
Meanwhile, back on the track, here's the Nissan GTR with the twin turbos and another Toyota Corolla, is it?
Yep. Another flame up. That's obviously what happens when they empty their oil on the exhaust pipe.
Well, this is bad luck, because this is the Roderick Oliver Toyota Corolla 55 that was running in the top 6 just a few moments ago, and it looks like it's the end of the race for the guys who finished 6th last year in a Toyota Corolla. And back out in front, here comes Tony Longhurst trying to whip through the gap there. Oh, and Longhurst has hit the wall! Amazing here at the Nissan Mobil 500, and Tony Longhurst has had it off there with John Sachs in the BMW, and that is a big smash right at the entrance to Front Straight. As we take a look at that again on the replay, and Tony Longhurst just trying to squeeze through the entrance, just clipping the guard of John Sachs and then straight into the Armco. This is the reason why the Wellington street race is so demanding and so grueling. And one mistake, you can get it all wrong. And Tony Longhurst is head there suffering whiplash as they total the $200,000 BMW M3, last year's winning car, out of the race this year in '91. Luckily at this stage, Tony Longhurst has just suffered whiplash and a scratch to the head. So let's update the positions now. And the Nissan Mobil 500 on the road, it's Joachim Winkelhock who leads in the BMW M3, the 3 Sport Castrol Snitcher team. They've done a fantastic job so far today. Larry Perkins in the Holden Commodore 05. Second, Robbie Francevic in the BMW M3. Look at that. The Kiwis getting right up there. And car number 54, the car that was almost out of this race before it started. Graham Crosby in 28, the Queensland Playscape Ford Sierra. Then it's Brent Riley and car number 3 in the Ford Sierra. Richards back in the Nissan GTR, moving up through the field, but they're still well down at this stage. Jimmy Richards running about 6 laps off the leader. Arkle and Slater, the first Porsche in car 15. The Jones Billington Holden Commodore 8th at the moment. And then it was the Tony Longhurst, of course, Alan Jones car, which is out of the race. And now in 10th place, another one of the Porsches, the Owen Evans Bill Farmer. And that's the distance behind the leading car, 15 minutes off the pace. Then it's Neil Allport and Gowdy in the Cosworth Sierra in the Group N classification. And then it's Steve Willie, McGregor, Dempsey, a little wee Toyota Corolla leading the Class C battle in 12th place. 15th place, Heffernan and Butler in a Toyota Corolla. Possumborn and Trevor Crow in the Subaru Legacy, still running in the top 15. The Boldwell and Barrow Ford Sierra car 44. Ferguson and Williams, this is the Porsche with Ray Williams and Vic Ferguson in 16th place at the moment. The Pateman Field Ford Laser, another one of the smaller cars in the field, in 17th place at the moment. Then it's the car 64, the Toyota Corolla of Kennedy and Stoneman in 18th place. Car 19, the Scott Glass and Mitsubishi Galant VR4. And rounding out the top 20, it's Dick Johnson and Paul Radisich in the Ford Sierra, having trouble with their back diff earlier today. And then it's the Bold Bait, car 52, Holden Commodore in 21st place at the moment. That's Larry Perkins. So it means now it's the BMW M3 with a handy lead, and the car that was really starting to challenge Tony Longhurst and the BMW M3, the B&H car, out of the race with that dramatic crash with Tony Longhurst at the wheel.
Well, this car is the one that really holds the key to what happens and unfolds in this race. If it rains, of course. Well, this, of course, is the car that will hold the key to the success or otherwise of the BMW in the great race, because if it rains, and at this point it seems to be holding off again, Wellington being Wellington, it's cooled off or dried off a little bit. For the last 2 laps, the BMW was dropping 15 seconds a lap off its times of earlier in the race, so obviously the track was very wet. If it had to come in for a tyre change to go to slicks, it would advantage the Mobil team because they could do their tyre change at the scheduled fuel stop. So, not over yet by any stretch of the imagination. This car is only leading by 30 seconds over Peter Brock, Larry Perkins at the wheel. There is another driving spell for Brocky, and if the rain comes down, this car will have to stop for rubber too. It becomes very, very even. It's not over yet. Plenty of action here in the Nissan Mobil 500.
Almost another little wee clash there as we go back to the Nissan Mobil gates there. And that was the Commodore getting mixed up with the little wee Nissan Pulsar GTI. One of the problems, BL, threading your eye of the needle there through the traffic.
Yeah, I think it's the race is starting to move on now, and drivers, whether they realise it or not, are probably starting to suffer perhaps not so much physical fatigue but mental fatigue, and it was encouraging to hear Pirro be very complimentary to the slower drivers.
This is John Sachs involved in that crash with Tony Longhurst. We think he's got a broken foot. That's the reason why he's been wheeled off the track. Tragic day for him with that accident, but he looks to be in good spirits and reliving the memories of that entrance into the main straight. So it's all happening in the Nissan Mobil 500. Stay with us.
At the same time, they nearly bowled me. I don't know which way to go, but the wet where the tyres are going on, and let's see who's going to be the first out of the pit. And it's Winkelhock taking a drink as they get the wets on at the front, and right behind him Peter Brock getting the wets on, and they're ready to roll. Hello, there seems to be a problem. They're wiping he wants to inside the windscreen wipe, and that's Jochen Winkelhock get away very quick, but they're still wiping the inside of the windscreen of the 05 car, and away he goes this time. My crikey. Let's have a quick word, though, with the Brock pit and just see exactly why they took quite so long with that. And Larry Perkins, a lot of time spent on that pit stop. Peter, very particular about the windscreen, was he?
Well, it's fogged up, very hard to see.
Is there any way you can defeat that? Do they have any sort of ventilation system?
Get it to stop raining.
All right, well, that's a simple answer, I suppose. But yes, the BMW team were the quickest. Back out on the track now, and it's Peter Brock as we sweep across the Wellington waterfront, heading down towards Jervois Quay, and all the big guns out there with the wet tyres.
All that seems to have done is just shift the game one step right. I mean, they've both come in for wet tyres. It only would really have been interesting if one of them elected to stay out. So it still can dry out a bit, and we still could have another tyre change. The reason that one car took longer than the other, I suspect, is because it was just a tyre change. And on a tyre change only basis, the single nut locking of the BMW is a quicker wheel to change than the 5 nuts of the big hole.
Just try and update the situation for you with the driver changes and the lead difference between Winkelhock back to Peter Brock and then Denny Hull.
That's not snow yet.
That's what the rain looks like from the camera's point of view.
That overhead projector too, certainly giving us an idea as to how much the road markings are evident there, which is also going to make the road an awful lot more slippery, just like they've got the Nissan Mobil logo painted down there on the start-finish line. Fortunately, it's in a straight line, but the white line certainly playing hell.
Peter Brock at the moment seems to be having difficulty seeing in the with the conditions. He had his windscreen white before. This is the job, as you can see from Brocky's bumper, getting an idea of just how wet it is out there on the track and just how slippery it is. But he was been talking back and having a bit of trouble seeing from the windscreen. Coming down through the slippery part of the circuit by the hairpin. And a lot of this circuit, because it is bumpy, he's actually taken out the mini cams of the Nissan car. It's bounced around that much and had trouble with the diff. Brocky. Try and have a chat with Peter Brock and David Oxton.
TV3 to Peter Brock. Can you hear us, Peter? TV3 to Peter Brock. Can you read us?
Just having trouble getting through to Peter Brock.
TV3 to Peter Brock. Can you read us?
Or what?
At the moment, you're seeing Peter Brock there just trying to get through to David Oxton from having a bit of technical trouble. And what's happened at the moment, when they cleaned the windscreen, they just knocked the face cam just to the right a bit. So Peter Brock working hard in the Commodore. Well, and now here's some real action at the chicane. Looks like 2 cars have overshot there in the wet weather. That's number 12. That's the Field Packman Corolla. Laser, I should say.
Kevin Pateman, a good little peddler of these Group N cars. This was the Laser Turbo that the Ford dealer team, or the Ford team, ran a couple of years ago, and it's been a very, very successful little car.
All right, just going from the Armour All protected replay. There's action back down in the pits. We'll try and find out what's happening with John Cardwell.
Well, Brocky's back in the pits, but I'll tell you what, he's not going to muck around. We've got to get out of the way, and it's just another wipe of the windscreen as he shoots by us at extra fast speed. And yes, that's all it was, just a wipe of the windscreen, Clint.
All right, thanks, John. I know it's a very busy day down there in the pits with the cars screaming in and screaming out, especially with this sort of situation. Peter Brock trying to catch up. 2 minutes 34 behind Joachim Winkelhock. And then another 8 minutes back to Denny Holm, Robbie Francevic, that BMW. Look at Brocky down the back straight here.
He's got a good buffer over the 3rd place car. That's the Italian Ceramics BMW of Denny Holm and Robbie Francevic. But Brock is also a master in the wet, but he'll be wanting to keep things nice and smooth, as he says, keep that rhythm flowing. He revels in conditions like this. 8 times Bathurst winner. He's had a pretty good run here. He won the event here first in 1986. He repeated it in 87 with Alan Moffat. Not a top 6 finish.
Had a great drive in the wet here 2 years ago, didn't he?
Very spectacular man.
Had a Holden Commodore as well. Had a bit of a break in a BMW and a Ford Sierra. But back behind the big V8 and second last year. He is currently second this year. So just like Bathurst, he's got a pretty good record. In fact, the most consistent record. But talking of consistency, the BMW M3s of the Snitches on target to make it 4 in a row this year into the last hour of the great race.
We've got 5 different types of cars in the top 10. We've got a BMW, the Commodore, the Ford Sierra, the Nissan and the Porsche. That's a great drive coming from Nigel Arkell and David Slater in the Porsche. They're running in 6th position at the moment, having completed 106 laps to Winkelhock and Emanuele Pirro's 115.
Sport, one of the stories of this year's Nissan Mobil 500 has been the performance of the car 54, Denny Holm and Robbie Francevic, with the 85 winner of the Wellington Street Race behind the wheel at the moment. And after almost not fronting up to the race because of the situation with the car being held up by the receivers and then rented off by the receivers with fastaway couriers coming in. It's turned out to be a great day for the Kiwis, and Robbie Francevic and Denny Holm look like being on target to be those first Kiwis home this year.
It's all sort of relative here, but in sort of relative terms, it's drying out. It's not as heavy as it was. It's not actually raining. It's actually getting quite light at the hairpin. The track is obviously very wet, but as a long-term proposition, it could be that they'll get to look for what they call wet lines. If you run a wet tyre in dry conditions, it overheats and falls to bits. So the guys will be, at this stage, it's not a problem. Just think about it and watch for this later on.
Well, while Robbie's at the wheel, let's go down to John Carble in the pits. He's got the bear standing by. He's going to do the double, first Kiwi at Bathurst, possibly the first Kiwi home in Wellington. Denny Holm.
Denny, it's been an action-packed race, hasn't it? I mean, there's been something happening every minute.
All the way around here. It really has been a problem, but you know, we knew it was going to be like this, and patience will pay off this weekend.
Robbie's doing a pretty good job for you out there too at the moment, I see.
Yes, he's out on the wets, and just before he came in, I noticed he'd been off the circuit somewhere and damaged the front rim on the dries, so he came in automatically, fitted the wets, and I think we're going good now.
Tell me, Denny, just looking at it, a very good chance being the first Kiwi home in this race.
Well, yes, unless Crosby beats us home, but the main thing is I just want to finish.
Yeah, and of course, you know, this must be more than you expected as the way it's shaping up.
Well, I had a couple of side bits thought it would be fourth, but you know, third's not too bad at the moment.
All right, all the very best. Hope we see you on the podium.
Thank you very much, John.
John Cardwell talking to Denny Holm, the gap back between Holm and Graham Crosby. Brian Lawrence, what's that now?
The gap between these two at the moment, they're both on the same lap, and you're looking at probably about 48, 49 seconds, but you've got Robbie Francevic circulating almost 2.5, almost 3 seconds a lap faster than the Kevin Waldock Graham Crosby car. So I think we're going to see a nice consistent performance from Francevic.
All right, here is Peter Brock at the wheel of the 05 Holden Commodore. Let's go down to Larry Perkins to see what some of the problems have been for Brocky in the last few laps.
Larry Perkins, 40 minutes to go in the race. That was really unfortunate, that second stop, the window fogging up.
Yes, we had to do it, though. He couldn't see, and we're quite some seconds behind the BMW, so it was unlikely that we could have made up that ground all being equal, so we had to be conservative and play it safe and you know, defog the screen.
Larry, it was incredible. You both came into the pits at the same time. Was that just a coincidence, or were you watching them?
Oh, no, absolutely coincidence. It's a driver's choice to always come in, and we did say on the radio that my opinion was come in, and so I don't know whether he heard me anyway, so it's not unusual, though, that all drivers on the track read the conditions similar.
Have you had any wet races in Australia this year?
Well, No, basically, no. We had one at the AGP, but we were so short we stayed on slicks, so races on wet tyres we haven't had.
Okay, well, you're on Bridgestone wets. The BMW is on Yokohama's. Do you know what the comparison is between them, performance-wise?
No, we don't. It's a very hard one to say. I'm just looking at the lap times here. I see the BMW's dropped nearly 20 seconds a lap, and you know, well, it looks like we're exactly the same. We've dropped 20 seconds a lap too, so things are status quo.
Well, it's still wide open, you know. There's still, what do we got, say, 40 minutes to go. You know motor racing, Larry, anything could happen still.
Oh, yeah, like you'd be a fool to say that this is the way the results are going to be. 40 laps around here, or 40 minutes, it's a long way, and we've seen what can happen to a lot of the other runners who aren't with us now, and we've just got to pay attention, keep out of trouble, keep it all reliable and press on.
Well, you've done your stint as a driver. Now you stand in the pits and worry as a team manager, Larry.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd prefer to be driving, actually.
Okay, well, all the best for the rest of the race.
Thanks very much.
Larry Perkins with Murray Taylor with that pit report. And Brocky behind the wheel of the big grunter. Now, what about the racing lines? Brian Lawrence, just that corner a few moments ago, we almost saw the BMW behind him just about slide into the arm coat.
He's probably trying to stay off the white lines as much as possible, so you get the absolute maximum of traction, trying to perhaps keep it flowing, maybe open up the arc, but still looking for the apex at the right time, trying to avoid making sharp turns, making aggressive maneuvers either on the brakes, keeping it nice and smooth all the time. In fact, the smoother the better, because it always winds up to be an awful lot faster. It's a lot easier on the car, because once they break loose on this sort of surface, as we've seen it before, that wall takes absolutely no prisoners whatsoever.
Looks to be one of the wetter parts of the circuit, the Jervois Key area, with the big Commodore of Bob Jones and John Billington.
They always seem to get into this position at this part of the race. John Billington always can be relied upon for a top 6 place, and Bob Jones having a good run too with the Aussie Holden. It's the VL model. It's the last model before the VN that's currently being run by Brock. Not a lot of sponsorship there, but running well.
What would have been particularly good under these conditions would be the four-wheel drive Nissan, the GTR of the duo of Jim Richards and Mark Skaife. We'll go down now and talk to Fred Gibson.
Fred, these are exactly the conditions you would have been hoping for with a four-wheel drive Nissan, surely.
Yes, it would have been, Murray. It would have been excellent for us now, because the car really shines on these conditions, greasy track. But the car's not doing too bad, Murray. It's probably about 3 seconds faster than anyone else except the BMW. So that's not too bad. We're catching everyone except the Winkelhock.
Okay, and the wets, they're holding up okay?
Yeah, they're fine. It's a matter, I suppose our challenge now is trying to get back to third spot. So we're catching 10 seconds a lap on Kevin Waldock. So if we can keep doing that for another half an hour or so, we might beat him.
What's the gap at the moment?
Oh, we're sort of a lap behind him. So I think we'll get that lap back before the finish.
Okay, well, all the best, Fred.
Thanks, Murray. Thanks very much.
Well, that could be a fantastic race within the race, as Jimmy Richards behind the wheel of Godzilla had all their chances of winning the race destroyed with those 3 unscheduled pit stops in the first hour with problems to the car. They've sorted those problems out. At the moment, Jimmy Richards, he's been turning in times around about 1:46. He's just a lap down on the car, which is third at the moment. They've got to get up and pass Denny Holman, Robbie Francevic to try and grab that top 3 position, but they're just closing in on Graham Crosby in the Ford Series, doing around about 1:55, so they are 10 seconds quicker than Cros at this stage. Do you think he can catch him, Brian?
I think he might. Richards is a very accomplished wet weather driver, and that's not taking anything away from Cros, who's doing a good job on that car. It's the Queensland car. It's hardly got a mark on. It's probably got a few bugs on it, which have been washed off it now anyway. But Richo's very smooth through the traffic, and probably Cros will be being kept aware by Ross Stone of the progress that the Nissan's making on him. So it'll be interesting over the next few laps to see exactly how much they're going to pull him back on. The Sierra's in 4th, the Nissan's in 5th, and of course the top 3 still Pirro and Winkelhock, Brock and Perkins, Holman, Francevic, and what a grand drive. Coming there in 6th position is the Porsche 911 of Nigel Arkell and David Slater. They're circulating in times of 2 minutes and 2 seconds compared to Winkelhock at 1 minute 45. But this is a tremendous drive from these two guys.
Good move to bring the Porsches in this year.
I think it is. There were a lot of people that were critical about it. And I must admit, I sat back along with some others and had a think about it and said, what's it going to do to this race? But the paying public, this is the entertainment industry. And people now have a much better variety of where they can go and spend their entertainment dollar. They want to see cars racing safely side by side. They want good, exciting stuff. And I don't think it really matters what sort of cars they are.
So we think it's Dave Slater at the wheel at the moment in the Porsche, with Dick Johnson just screaming through the hairpin there. The sweeper.
Sweeper seems to be drying out noticeably on the exit. I reckon we're getting a dry line, and of course what that does is still greasy though, because he got a bit tail happy coming off the turn. I think I'd be sticking on groovies. I wouldn't be brave enough to go for those slickies.
Well, the weather has actually cleared, looking back over the Hutt Valley. It's a lot better than it was about 10-15 minutes ago.
It's lovely, isn't it, really, though, Wellington? You can always rely upon it to just take a dump and you know... Do they have summer here?
They have some fantastic weather in windy Wellington. Some glorious days. There is the dry lines, as you can see from the aerial shot of 3 Sport. You can follow the racers as they stay away from the wet. And here's one of our 35 cameras away up here, high and wide. How you doing, Ellie?
This is what you call
Ellie's doing a great job. Yeah. Concentrating on the job at hand, and one of the shots that you can see looking back down over pit lane, harnessed. And Ellie from the top of the building. And he caught the long crash today too.
Does he have
the long crash.
Does he have a safety net? Does he have a safety net?
Well, he's buckled in. This is the shot that caught the crash with Longhurst trying to whip through on the inside to the start of the straight, clipped into John Sachs, and then the rest is history. It's all wall-to-wall action, and for the Longhurst Jones team, it's wall-to-wall tragedy. And this is one of the reasons why we have so many cameras all around the circuit to catch the action with the Armour All protected replay.
One thing that impresses me about that, you guys, is that that car took a heck of a beating there. It remained structurally protected for the driver. And this is, you know, we really concentrate in racing on keeping our people safe. The drivers wear fireproof suits, you know, the flame crushers to make sure they're safe in a fire incident. The roll cages inside are structurally there to protect them in the form of a big impact. So I think it vindicates not just racing cars, but the beautiful strength of that BMW car in a crash condition.
And where the racers meet the road, and those things learned in motor racing are passed on to the road cars.
It does have a follow-on, I'm sure.
Okay, look at the track now with Joachim Winkelhock. He's got the windscreen wiper going, but as you can see on the track, it is starting to dry.
What they'll be looking for now, if there's no more rain forecast, is that they'll be trying to find a fast line while still maintaining a damp line, because as David pointed out to you before, this is the shot from the Castrol BMW, the 3 Sport car, is that they'll be looking for a wet line to try and keep these tyres as cool as they possibly can, because when they get hot, they break up, they're no good. You can see how quickly it's drying. There's still a lot of cars on the circuit there, and this particular surface at Wellington does dry out quite quickly.
This is the bumpy part of the circuit as they race down Cable Street. Joachim Winkelhock behind the wheel of the car, which has been so superb here over the last 3 years. Are they on target for a 4th win?
I'm really impressed with the way most of the guys, and I mean 98% of the guys, move over and let these quick guys through. I mean, it's hard enough, as we said before, just to keep yourself pointing in the right direction, keep your mind together. The strain on these blokes after the time they've been out there, it's hard going, and they're as good as any bunch of tail-end Charlies or shopping baskets as I've ever seen. Second in class is the place for Greg Goody and Neil Allport. In fact, he's now moved
it's an
into
interesting
first
battle between
place.
the two rally drivers, Neil Allport and Possum Bourne.
Well, the gravel rashes, yeah.
With Gertie and Trevor Crow. And the Allport car leading at this stage with the Possum Bourne car in second place in the Group N class. Almost giving a friendly nudge to, I think, Ray Williams might be in the Porsche by now. Is that Trevor Crow back behind the wheel of the Subaru.
The Group N cars very rarely muck around with the luxury of treaded tyres and slick tyres. They have a combined intermediate type tyre which copes with most conditions. But there's that dry line. It's one and a bit car's width, and the tyre that will be on that car at the present time obviously likes being more in the dry area. But I think if you watch Brocky in a similar situation, he'll be looking to move over to the edge to cool his wet weather tyres.
That part of the track down Cable Street has certainly dried out a lot more than other parts of the track. This is the current Group N placings, with the car 94 out in front, the Crow Bourne Subaru in second place. Then it's the bold Bate Holden Commodore in third place. Scott Glassett in the Mitsubishi Galant VR4. Then it's the Pateman Field Ford Laser, followed by the Lamont Anderson Holden Commodore. The mechanics doing a lot of work on that car overnight as well. Currently in 8th place in the Group N and NZ class as well. It's the Davidson, Paddy Davidson, Max Pennington Nissan GTIR, another race driver, rally driver from Oporiki, Paddy Davidson. That's the son of the Godzilla, the Nissan GTR out there.
Well, watch this. We've got some action. The BMW has elected to go to slick tyres, so Joachim Winkelhock brings it in.
Well, talking to you from the pits, and here he comes in, it's Joachim Winkelhock, and the wet tyres are coming off, and they're putting on intermediates. You'll notice I've got a very slight pattern on them. Those are the intermediate tyres. David will tell you all about those in a moment. As Joachim takes a little drink, a little bit of the mineral water, the tyres are going on. There doesn't seem to be too many problems at all. Have a quick chat with Charlie Lamb, the team manager, just as the car zips away. There goes the bottle out the window, and away goes Joachim Winkelhock. And Charlie, intermediates all the way? No, Charlie doesn't want to talk to us. He's busy. He's got work to do. So there you are. That's the choice. David, you can tell us what intermediates are.
Their lead on the road back to Peter Brock is 1:53, and they're 2 laps in front.
Intermediates usually are classified as grooved slicks. We'll go in and have a look at this wet weather tyre that the boys have taken off. I think you'll find it'll be starting to chunk and break the centres out. If we can just get that big thumb. It's been working good, that tyre, but you'll see that around the edges there, it's probably just starting to break up. It had good life left in it, but Charlie's taking no chances. He wants to know where he's going to be on the last lap. So what we'll have now is a tyre which is totally flat, called a slick tyre, but with hand-grooved little chisel marks just to help it to break through some of the damp conditions. It's a very brave boy that can drive a car around a greasy track like this. At least when he has to go around cars, he has to move off the dry line onto the damp line, and that's where the action could happen.
Still not too much pressure for the Winkelhock car at this stage, because Brock and Perkins back in second place are 2 minutes behind, and they're getting ready for a pit change as well. And it's the Nissan also coming in for some dry weather tyres. So the whole field now coming off the wets, going back onto the slicks.
So the Nissan team originally, Clint, put out the intermediates, but they changed their mind. They put the intermediates away in the last minute, and they put the slicks on, and it's a very quick change indeed. Jimmy Richards still behind the wheel.
Look at that, super quick by the Nissan team. Richards at the moment in 5th place, and 6 laps still behind Joachim Winkelhock.
Well, the only way, Holden fans, that this man can talk about winning this race technically is if he can talk to that bloke upstairs and send some rain down, because right now he's the only bloke really left out there on full rain tyres. And there they are, Dick Johnson, Peter Brock. Peter Brock is staying out on his wets. Dick Johnson has rejoined with probably intermediates, although the hot tip right now might be to go to full dries. What a battle of wits. I think this is neat, because this is it's still up there. Anything can happen. It's still black over Cook Strait.
Still black by Eastbourne too in the Hutt Valley. But at this stage, clear on the road and that dry strip. And that's dried out a lot too down the back straight because that was wet around about 15 minutes ago.
See, now Brocky's pulled a big bunch of time on Dick Johnson in that section alone, so it's still warranted in running these tyres. If only we could get another shower, that's really what would make this race.
Well, the gap now back to second place is 1:57 with Peter Brock on the wet tyres. Remember that Joachim Winkelhock, they've come onto the slicks as the track dries out. Here's Peter Brock inside the Holden Commodore. The face cam just got knocked off centre just a little bit. And the word is that Peter Brock is talking back to the pits there. We'll just go down to John Cardwell to find out exactly what's going on with the Holden Challenge here. And the Commodore catch up to the BMW second and third. Second and first. That's the second and third last year, actually.
Well, Larry Perkins, you've got some intermediates out behind us here. What's the situation with the tyres? What's the choice?
Well, if it gets worse, gets drier, at least we're ready if he comes in. But you look at it, it's a bit unnecessary. There's only about 12 laps left on our estimation. And the intermediates probably will only go 3 seconds lap quicker. We're going to lose 60 seconds in total if we come in, which is 5 seconds lap. So it's probably not worth coming in, really. So you're sort of resigned now to a second place finish, are you, Larry? Well, unless something mechanically happens to the BMW, yes, we're 110 seconds behind, and no way we're going to make that up on the track. So, at some stage you've got to accept that that may be how it's going to be. Now, Larry, will you leave it to Peter to make a choice, make the call on whether he comes in for slicks? Yes, he'll only come in if he feels he's wet, so getting a bit overheating. If they're overheating, they do risk then losing the tread. But he'll be able to pick that up easily.
Okay, Larry, thank you.
From Yokohama out from the UK again. I think this is third or fourth year you've been out here. Obviously this has been quite a race of tyres. What was the change you made there? You went on to an intermediate.
Yeah, because we're getting a dry line around the circuit, but also it's wet off the line, and because of the amount of cars going.
Where's the tyre down here, Keith?
Well, this is the wet tyre, right? Now, these are just purely used in wet conditions. Because of the drying line, as I said, we're changed to an intermediate, which also allows Joachim to overtake cars on the wet line or the rest of the circuit.
So the wets are obviously quite a bit softer. The intermediate, is that a racing tyre that you've just hand cut a tread into?
Yeah, that's right. That's all we do. But as you say, the wet tyre is harder tyre, softer tyre. Because when you start going to dry line, it starts to blister, it overheats and blisters. And that really is why they came in and changed them.
It was just starting to feather on the shoulders?
Yeah, that's right, just on the inside shoulder. So it's Joachim felt something in the left rear, which is the tyre that does most work around this circuit. So
thanks, Keith.
OK, mate, no problem.
They also had a change of tyres. Kevin Waldock, a change of tyres. And by crikey, if we can get this pole cam in around behind us and have a look at these tyres, he Ferdingham has chewed them up. We just come in and have a look at these. I'm not going to put my hands on them, I tell you what. Look at the way that tyre has been chewed up out there. Kevin Waldock Wooldock. Obviously, the track is heating up as it dries out, and that's the result, the very soft wet weather compounds. And so they've made the choice, and they've gone on to an intermediate tyre, or have you gone on to a dry tyre?
Gone onto a slick.
You've gone onto a slick. So that's the situation with Kevin Wooldock's team. They're currently, I believe, David Oxton, you can clear us up on this, in 3rd place in the race.
In 4th place at this stage, the Graham Crosby Kevin Wooldock car. This slipped back after a good drive by Robbie Francevic in the BMW M3. That's the battle at the moment. For 3rd and 4th, the battle to become the first Kiwi home in this year's Nissan Mobil 500. Graham Crosby trying to catch up on Robbie Francevic in the BMW M3 as they chase Winkelhock out in front of the BMW Snitcher car. Peter Brock staying out there on the wet tyres as the track dries out, and the Holden Commodore 2nd. Coming down to the main straight, and it's the BMW M3 of the 3-Sport Castrol Snitcher team that have had a superb record here in the Wellington Waterfront race, and that continues today as we count down to the finish of the great race. 10 minutes to go. Winkelhock out in front. They've got a 2-minute cushion, 2-minute 39 in fact, and they're almost a lap to 2 laps in front of Peter Brock back in 2nd place in the Holden Commodore. Then it's a gap back to Denny Holm and Robbie Francevic. Robbie Francevic at the wheel of the BMW M3, followed by Richards and Scaife, now moving up into 4th place on the same lap as Holm and Francevic. So that means that the Kevin Wooldock Graham Crosby car that was running 4th has now slipped back to 5th with that late change to the slick tyres by Graham Crosby.
This BMW, of course, features a few more horsepowers than last year's winning car, about 30 horsepower up. It also has the anti-lock braking system, which I guess would be a bit of a bonus in these sort of conditions. It would prevent the inevitable lockup under greasy conditions, and certainly a huge benefit today. Just a more refined version of the previously successful models, this is probably the 4th generation of the M3 model, which has raced in this country. We're very lucky every year to have the Snitzer team to come out from Europe and bring this Europeanization to the whole motorsport carnival that's become part of the Wellington street race, the Nissan Mobil 500.
Talking to Emanuele Pirri earlier this week after his win at the Macau Grand Prix. Very confident that the car would do the job. And he'll be off for a break in Fiji in between this weekend and next weekend in Pukekohe. 3 days to relax and unwind. Joachim Winkelhock, though, certainly won't be unwinding at this stage. Keeping the pace up.
Well, there's the lifeline to the little BMW Snitzer car. They don't go for the big communication things. They do have enough information on there to feed the driver. The top line obviously is the time, 36.2 seconds. The middle line is the amount of seconds ahead of the next driver. So I guess that would make it 144 seconds or about 2 minutes something. The bottom line is laps to go. 5 laps to go is what Charlie Lamb says it is. So we'll go with him. We'll keep an eye on that, but he's got it worked out. He's calculated back the amount of running time, the amount of laps projected for the race distance. He's done his sums. That's his reckoning.
So 5 laps to go for the 4th win in a row. Unbelievable record, isn't it, when you think about it?
Remember all the things that happened to Murray Walker calling Formula 1 races. It's never over until the fat lady sings or whatever it is.
It's been a wet fat lady today.
Well, it's certainly looking good. You certainly can't hold it away from them, but you only have to trip up over one of those little cars getting offline. Those little cars, they have the ability to move quickly, but sometimes they move the wrong way. That's why these Europeans have to be right on the case and be ready for any eventuality.
Joachim Winkelhock last year failed to finish, well, he finished 4th on the 2nd of the 2 BMW Snitchers last year. A little bit of trouble with Steve Soper, and in fact there's quite a bit of an interesting duel last year between Steve Soper in the number 2 car and Johnny Shikoto in the number 1 car. But this year Joachim Winkelhock getting the drive along with Emanuele Pirri and doing a very slick job.
Well, he had the misfortune to clout the car his car pretty badly at Macau a couple of weeks back, well, last weekend in fact. And he was in doubt for this event because of a strained wrist. but he's obviously a fitness person. He keeps his body in shape, and so with some good manipulation, some good exercises, his wrist is back certainly in working condition, and he probably is feeling it, but it's not showing to us.
It's full credit to some of the smaller cars too in today's race. It's been 400 and something odd kilometres of very, very interesting racing, and you look at through the top 20, and in 20th position we've got the little Nissan GTIR, and we're going to have a look at the profile of Joachim Winkelhock in just a moment.
Joachim Winkelhock, of course, born in Germany, which is where he lives. He's 31 years of age and he's married. He was a student early in his life before he became a full-time race driver. And of course, like most of the people in Europe, he likes pop music. He ran through Formula Fords as part of his early career, and he looked destined to have a single-seater career in mind. He was into Formula 3, won the Formula 3 German Championship. He did reach Formula 1, but the team that he was with really didn't provide him with the goods. He elected to give it away and make a full-on attack with the BMW team, go for touring cars. They're really big in Germany. He certainly picked the top team to do it with.
Joachim Winkelhock in the 3-Sport Castrol BMW M3. Just keeping that car right on race pace. Just overtaking the Subaru Legacy there. One of the 5 Formula 1 drivers in the field. It's a shame that Alan Jones didn't really get a chance to get out there in the Tony Longhurst car. Earlier today, of course, Tony Longhurst taken out, was involved in a big smash in the front straight. But you're riding with Joachim Winkelhock heading towards the remaining laps of this year's Nissan Mobil 500. That's the glary view heading up towards the Hutt Valley, coming down towards the waterfront straight. Let's go for a lap with the #1 car at this stage.
Well, we must be back with a bit of rain because obviously the wipers indicate what's happening. The wind's blowing up pretty strongly here, and whilst the circuit is dry, it looks like the rain's back on the way. But 4 laps to go. They could just about push those cars around and still win. Well, 1 minute, 2 minutes, close on 3 minutes in the lead at this present time from Manuel Pilipiro. 3 minutes 26 seconds according to the official Unisys information. So it's a heck of a lead.
And while that car has now been controlling the lead, this man, Jimmy Richards, going by our calculations at this stage, has just moved up into 3rd place, which is a fantastic effort by the hard-charging gentleman of touring cars from Australia, the current Australian touring car champion, Bathurst champion. Had all sorts of problems today with the supercar, but now he's been circulating with 139s around about the same time as the BMW, and he's worked his way back up into the top 3, which was the aim that Freddie Gibson was telling us earlier today. So this has been a super drive by Richo.
He was always good. He's good in the wet, he's good in the dry, and just looking at the lap times at the moment as Winkelhock's turning in a 1:38.02, and then we've got Peter Brock and the Holden Commodore at 1:49, but remember that's on wet weather tyres.
And he's 2 laps down.
And he's a little reluctant to come in. The Richards car, 1:37, so that's actually the fastest car on the road at the moment, turning in the same lap time as what Kevin Waldock is in the Queensland car.
That's actually 3 laps behind Peter Brock at this stage too. It's probably not enough time for Jim Richards to try and catch Brocky. So Jim Richards in the Nissan GTR will finish the race after 3 unscheduled pit stops when they had problems with the diff earlier today, and they thought there was tyre problems. Mark Scaife at the wheel. So it looked like it was going to be a day of disaster. That's how long to go as they count down the first to 5 hours or 500 kilometres or 4 hours.
4 minutes 23 and counting down.
So this is the car that's second, Peter Brock. He was second last year. And he's doing a good job at this stage, even though he's decided to stay out there. The problem with Peter Brock, though, we suspect he's got communications problems back to the pits. And he wasn't too sure whether he should come in and change over to the dry tyres. So he's decided to stay out there on the wet. While it's just starting to spit again, it's still not enough to really possibly give Peter Brock an advantage with those wet tyres.
Dick Johnson fans and Ford Sierra fans, you've got to believe that a Sierra Turbo around a greasy track like this is going to be a handful, because that dreaded thing called the boost, when it comes in, there's a bit of lag in the throttle response, and before you know it, you'll be doing a whoop-de-woo it into the Armco. So I'm sure Dick's not wanting to do any damage to the team car at this point of the day.
So Peter Brock going down towards the hairpin, 3 laps behind. Jimmy Richards in the Nissan GTR trying to close. And Richards is 13 seconds quicker at the moment going around the circuit, but he's still around about 3 or 4 laps down, trying to close that gap on the leading car of Joachim Winkelhock. And then it goes back to Holm and Francevic, Robbie Francevic in the BMW M3 in 4th place in car 54. And then it's Graham Crosby in car 28, the Ford Sierra, in 5th place.
Is that a very good run since he's been here? Just going through the history books here, Peter Brock, he's had 2 wins. He's finished 2nd on 1 occasion, 4th on 2 occasions, and 5th on 1. That's not a bad effort.
On target to pick up another 2nd here today.
The best of the little cars at this time would obviously be Steve Willey and the little Toyota Corolla.
They're in 13th place.
Yes, Steve Willey leading out from one of the little A's, I guess it'd be the Pateman Field Ford Laser TX. So great effort at this stage by those guys. Greg Goody and Neil Allport leading Group N. So that's a nice effort too. That's they're in 8th place.
Here is the lead car at this stage. It's Joachim Winkelhock. This could be the last lap. Or possibly 2 laps to go. Just trying to clarify the situation for you. It's Joachim Winkelhock. All sorts of signals going across pit lane at the moment, but Joachim Winkelhock doing a great job behind the wheel. Heading down towards the fast part of the track this year, the Cable Street Sweeper. And he's just cruising at this stage. He's got a huge cushion over Peter Brock. 3 minutes 50. Back to the 2nd place car, Peter Brock. Then it goes back to Jim Richards in 3rd. So it's Joachim Winkelhock and the BMW Stitcher team in the 3-Sport Castrol BMW M3, the new Evolution model, coming around now. He's done a fantastic job. The crowd gets set along the start-finish line. Charlie Lamb, an exciting moment for the Stitcher team, a fantastic record here over the last 4 years. They'll make it 4 in a row, which is absolutely unbelievable. And Emanuele Pirro will have 4 drives and 4 wins. And Joachim Winkelhock coming down for the great moment of the Nissan Mobil 500 for 1991. And Joachim Winkelhock down the main straight, takes the checkered flag. It's 4 in a row for the BMW Stitcher team, and a magnificent effort by Joachim Winkelhock and Emanuele Pirro, winning the Nissan Mobil 500 for 1991. Unbelievable record. Peter Brock crosses the line in 2nd place. And we'll keep our eye out for the 3rd car. It's the Nissan GTR of Jimmy Richards. Peter Brock, 2nd in the Commodore